Hi there, this is Dan Connolly of BaltimoreBaseball.com, and this is our very first podcast for Around the Beat on BaltimoreBaseball.com. And basically what this is going to be a weekly feature talking to a beat writer from another team about his team, which is about to play the Baltimore Orioles. And I'm really super excited here because the scheduling gods made it so that the first team that the Baltimore Orioles will be facing in 2016 is the Minnesota Twins. And that means my buddy, my good friend, LaVelle E, Neal III, who's been doing this even longer than I have, is going to be talking with us here. So first of all, LaVelle, great to have you here on BaltimoreBaseball.com.
Oh my God, the pressure's on now. I have to set the ceiling, or I'm setting the floor.
That's right. Set it first time, baby, first time. You know, it's funny. We've all done these radio things 1,000 times, and usually you don't know the person that we're going on with if it's from another city or whatever, and they come on like, yeah, I'm here with LaVelle Neal, my good friend LaVelle Neal, good friend of the program. This time we can actually say we're good friends because we've done stupid things together for so many years. So this is not one of those fake, my right. friend. This is a real guy. I've spent a lot of time in Fort Myers watching LaVelle be kind of in charge of the town of Fort Myers. He is. It's like hanging out with LaVelle in Fort Myers is like hanging out with Michael Jordan in Chicago.
I don't know about that.
It's pretty impressive. So, and I threw that Chicago thing in there for you as well. So
all
right. Yep. So, okay, we're going to start on Monday. We have the Twins and the Orioles, Ervin Santana versus Chris Tillman. First things first, Santana's a really interesting story, and he's getting the opening day nod for the Twins here. Can you talk to me a little bit about what makes this special for Santana and how much he really has to prove for the Minnesota Twins this year?
Well, last year he was chugging along in spring training, and the last start of the year with against Boston, he threw like 6 shutout innings and made it look easy, and the Twins were really excited, thinking, man, we got a guy who can, kind of keep us in the game against tough pitchers, and we may have a chance there to kind of surprise some people. And then he got suspended for the PED abuse, and that knocked him out for 80 games. So the Twins came to the season, pretty much up for grabs for opening day starter, and they thought that Ervin performed the best. So Ervin gets to prove to the Twins what he can do over the course of the season. In 17 starts last year, he was 7-5 with an ERA, I think, right at 4. And but he was 5-2 over his last 7 starts with like a 1.7 ERA, right when the Twins were kind of hanging around the wild card race. And so he's fired up about being with the team for a full season. The other guys in the clubhouse are fired up about him being around for a full season, just to see how effective he can be and how he's got to lead this rotation. And the Twins are looking for him to do big things.
Now, you mentioned the Twins were, kind of hanging around the wild card, and that was a surprise last year. Everyone kind of thought they were maybe a year or two away from really being in the mix. But now this year, people are watching and paying attention to him. In fact, Orioles manager Buck Showalter said yesterday that they're kind of one of his sleeper picks, that he really likes this team. Specifically, what he really likes is a certain young center field type named Byron Buxton, who is probably, if not the leading candidate for the AL Rookie of the Year, he's certainly going to be mentioned in that conversation, I would think. So what can you tell us about what you've seen in Buxton, and really is this guy? I mean, why is this guy seemingly maybe better than all the other boys?
Well, Byron Buxton was the 2nd overall pick in 2012, I believe, and the 1st overall pick that year was someone named Carlos Correa. And so the Twins had Correa in for a workout the week before the draft, and they were going to take him, and Houston took Buxton, but they were happy that Buxton fell to them. I don't know if he's a true 5-2 player, because I don't know how much power he's going to hit for. He may end up hitting, maybe 12 to 15 homers a year, but he has ridiculous speed. He has ridiculous instincts and ridiculous arm in center field. As a high school pitcher, he hit 97 on the gun one game. Wow. So he can throw. He's pretty accurate, and he has shown the ability to hit for a high average. He just raise holy hell on a base pass once he gets on. One of the things he's trying to adjust to right now at Major League level is just facing quality breaking stuff and understanding that you can't sit there and be patient or you can be down 0-2 every at bat. So he's kind of dealing through that transition right now. The Twins are willing to keep him on the Major League level this year. They think if he hits 240, he will be an asset because he's just going to be brilliant in center field. And my colleague, our columnist Patrick Worthy, thinks he has a chance of being the best Twins center fielder ever, which is saying a lot.
Wow.
For the Twins here. So the key for him is putting the ball in play so he can put his fantastic speed on the base pass and and raise havoc for the other team. So that would be something worth watching this week. Cameron, yeah?
Yeah. Now let's go a little bit to his left, because this guy intrigues me. We saw a lot of power from him last year in Miguel Sano. He's a guy that the Orioles thought they were very, very close to being able to land as a free agent. He was one of the, as a Dominican amateur, I mean, a lot of teams were interested in him. He kind of bounced back and forth. Was looking for kind of a small market team, actually, and it looked like he might have, the Orioles were very, very interested, and he was interested in them, and he didn't end up coming to Baltimore. And, he's kind of a guy that intrigues me because he looks like he could be a real player with that power. But I know there's some questions with him, and now they have him in the outfield. What are your impressions so far on Sano last year and coming into this year in the spring training?
The thing about Miguel Sano, just for that, is that he may have the best approach at the plate than anyone on the team, and that includes Joe Mauer. It's amazing how often this guy works the count full. It's like if at least two of his at-bats every day don't end up 3-2, then it's an upset. He knows his strike zone very well. He kind of has an idea what teams are trying to do to him, and he's willing to shoot the ball to opposite field if he has to. The power is tremendous. He hit that third walkway in Tampa Bay last year when they ruled it a double, where the ball would probably travel 450 feet if it was for the catwalk. It's just ridiculous power, and he makes it look easy. And you stop what you're doing when he's at the plate just to see how far he may hit the ball. He had a line drive double this year that it sounded louder hitting the fence than it did off his bat. He squares a ball. It's pretty amazing here. But Miguel's a young dude. He's 22 years old. And when I say he's 22, he's a young cat, man. And I'm not saying he's immature, but, he's one of those guys that you got to the Twins have to kind of keep their hands on to make sure he's, being consistent in his daily workouts and how he's eating right and making sure, he's just doing all the things professional baseball players do. But, it's worth the headache because of the potential payoff, because this guy looks like he could be a perennial 40 home run a year hitter in the major league level. He's originally a shortstop. They moved him to third, and that's because Trevor Plouffe at third. They're trying him in right field this year, which I think is kind of a risk just because he has very little experience there. And it's going to be there's going to be a couple balls he's going to misjudge. They're going to go flying over his head. He's going to take a wrong angle. But he has a very strong throwing arm. He can throw people out, and he can run for a big man. He's 6'4", 263 pounds. But he runs fairly well. So as long as he takes the right angle, he'll be okay out there. But I think there's going to be some growing pains as he adjusts to playing the outfield. As long as it doesn't affect his hitting, because that's going to be that's going to be the big ticket there.
This is Dan Connolly with BaltimoreBaseball.com and my buddy LaVelle E. Neal from the Minneapolis Star Tribune, longtime baseball writer covering the Twins. And, one of the things that's interesting that when I'm looking at this team, LaVelle, too, is defensively, it's a pretty good defensive team, too, isn't it? I mean, obviously you talked about Sano being a bit of a question in right field, but you can kind of make up for it in places like center field and shortstop and even first base, even though you have a guy who obviously wasn't a traditional first baseman in Mauer. I mean, I've seen him play, and he play a pretty strong defensive first baseman. So is this a pretty good defensive team as well?
Yeah, I think so. Let's start with the infield. Trevor Plouffe has made himself to at least an average, not slightly above average third baseman. Badalda Escobar is a steady, reliable shortstop. Brian Dozier is an all-star second baseman. Joe Mauer is at least an average first baseman. Not too much more than average, but I don't think he's an embarrassment there. And they played together for a couple of years now. They understand the whole shifting thing. They pretty much, can move around the field on their own without a lot of prodding. And they will make the plays that need to be made. The outfield has a chance to be really good. If Sano can have a quick adjustment to right field, it can be really good just from the mere fact that all three guys can run well. All three guys have arms. Buxton has an 80 arm and a 20 to 80 scouting range. Eddie Rosario has at least a 65 arm, and he has great instincts and great jumps. And he had 13 outfield assists last year. As teams continued to run on him, he kept throwing out people, trying to strike singles and doubles and trying to score from second on singles. And Sano is a shortstop. He has a shortstop arm. Right. And so defensively, this team could be pretty doggone solid. And I'm sure that's one reason why Buck probably likes the Twins as a sleeper team again, because I know Buck likes defense. Right.
Now, speaking of not so good defensively, however, a guy that is intriguing to all of us is Byung-Ho Park. And I mean, he's going to be, I would imagine, three-quarters or a full-time DH for you guys. Korea and baseball right now is kind of an interesting situation for the Baltimore Orioles as they're trying to figure out, what's going to go on when it comes to Kim, who obviously has struggled. Park has not struggled as much in spring, and he did show, flashes of that power that we've heard so much about. So what kind of scouting report can you give us on Gung Ho Park?
Well, Park hit, 53 homers last year in the KBO and drove in 130-something runs, I believe. And he's hit over 100 home runs over the last 2 years in that league. So he's hit a ton there. What he's done coming over here, he can hit a major league fastball. I kept hearing about how Korean pitchers throw anywhere from like 86 to 90 mile an hour fastballs. You may have maybe one guy on a roster there that can throw 93, 94, so he doesn't see a lot of it. But here, he has proven already that he hit a major league fastball. I think the adjustment for him is going to be when teams really start pitching to get him out and when they start setting him up for breaking balls and start spinning the ball on him, how's he going to react? Because I don't know if he's seen sliders like he's going to see in Major League Baseball or curveballs. And so while he's proven he can hit the fastball, I think he's going to get eaten up for a while by the breaking stuff. And it could be ugly early, but it looks like he's the type of guy who can make adjustments.
That's really interesting and kind of an interesting comparison because Kim has had real trouble with the fastball. He cannot catch up to a Major League fastball at this point because he's not used to it. And he's really, really struggled with that. I mean, he obviously started his pro career with the Orioles 0 for 23.
Yeah.
And, he's got I saw that. Then. Yeah. So I want to talk to you about some of your impressions about the Orioles. But before we do, to me, the Achilles heel on this Twins team, the thing that I kind of look at and I kind of question, especially when you look at the bullpen and you have Perkins if he's healthy and Jepson, who did a good job last year, and some of those other guys, to me the real Achilles heel is this rotation and whether it's going to be able to get to that bullpen and, how consistent these guys can be, guys like Gibson and Phil Hughes. If Nolasco is going to end up being in that starting rotation, what he can do, and obviously, how effective Santana can be for a whole year. When you look at your team and you look at the strengths and the weaknesses, is that the biggest question mark? If this rotation can kind of, get to the 6th and 7th inning every day?
Well, that's going to be it's a quick call in your part. It lacks a number one starter, and some people argue that the Twins don't have a number two starter either. With this group here, it's got to be a group that can grind through a season and kind of keep the Twins in games. Ervin Santana has had 6 seasons in which he's thrown at least 196 innings. Phil Hughes has thrown the 200 innings a couple times. Kyle Gibson got to like 198 or something last year. And for the Twins to have a chance of being competitive this year, those 3 guys are all going to have to be close or past the 200 inning mark. That means they're doing something right. And I think if those 3 can combine for 45 to 48 wins, I think that would be a positive. I think Gibson's gotten a little bit better every year. He was 11-11 with a 3.80 ERA last year. I can easily see him jumping up to 13, 14, 15 wins this year. He's actually striking out more batters in spring training, which I think was the final frontier from here for him trying to figure out how to finish off hitters. Ervin Santana has looked dominant at times. He's not known for being a strikeout pitcher, but he kind of adapts. Sometimes he's a finesse guy, and other times he rears back and can fire fastballs past people. He got upset about something in the spring training game this year. His next 3 pitches went 95, 96, 97. I didn't even know he could throw that hard.
Right.
So and he's got that slider that hitters have trouble picking up. It kind of like when they say like this ball shining, you can't see the spin to determine if it's a slider, and that's been a trademark of his throughout his career. Hughes is a little bit of a concern to me because I think he's a great bounce back candidate, but he's still just throwing 91, 92 miles an hour. Where his first year with the Twins, he was throwing 94, occasionally hitting 95, which really made his changeup more effective. And I don't know if he's going to be able to find those missing 2 or 3 miles an hour. I know he had back issues last year, and he worked out like a dog. And feels he's in great shape this year. Maybe he'll tick back up once the adrenaline of the regular season comes. And after that, you got Tommy Malone, who's a crafty lefty. Some days he's going to be able to weave his way through a lineup. Other days he's going to get blasted, because he's like Kenny Rogers. He's going to need the extreme black of the plate for it to be effective.
Right,
if Bill Carter's not giving that to him, he's going to be in trouble. And that leaves Ricky Nolasco in the soft 5 hole right now, which is unfortunate because they're paying him like $48 million over 4 years. Right. It's just not working out right now. But I think the future's bright because to get a prospect named Jose Barrios, who's one of the better starting pitching prospects in the game, who throws in the mid-90s, has a great changeup and a curveball. He'll probably contribute sometime during the season. And Tyler Duffy, who was 5-1 with a 3.10 ERA late last year for the Twins, will start the season in the minors, and he could be summing up as well. So the rotation has a chance of being a functional one. Not with a guy who's ready to win 20 games, but they may have 2-3 guys in that 14 to 16 range, which could be enough to get them through a season.
The only thing that concerns me about this team, and I think it's a pretty good team, it's becoming a much better team, is the division you're in. And I heard a scout tell me, and it's blasphemy for people in the East, but I had a scout tell me that the Minnesota Twins were in the American League East, they might be the favorite, which blows my mind knowing how good the American League has been all these years. But, with Kansas City Royals and that pitching staff of the Cleveland Indians, and the White Sox have a pretty good overall team. And it's Detroit you can't ever count out, especially with Cabrera and those guys and signing up. And so that's a really tough division. And it could, I still like the Royals, but otherwise, 2-5 could really almost be anybody.
I'd like to smoke what that scout was smoking, because other than it, I can't see the Twins being able to match with the Toronto Blue Jays right now. And the Red Sox are weird. They got some talent, and then Sandoval and Hanley Ramirez going to hold them back. I don't know. But the Central is a very interesting division. I have the Indians winning it. I'm in love with that pitching staff from top to bottom. Right. I think getting Carlos Santana off of first base is a big upgrade. Putting Napoli at first and being able to use Santana at DH. And if Michael Brantley's healthy, it's going to be a very functional offense. I have the Royals behind the Indians. I have the Twins third. The Tigers, I just can't see how the Tigers are suddenly going to win 15 more games than they did last year and win like 90 games to be a threat. I don't see 15 games of improvement in that team. And the White Sox are the White Sox. Regardless of whatever the White Sox do, they end up screwing it up in the end. And you have to remember, I think John Danks is like the third or fourth starter in that rotation. And to me, that's a bad sign. So, and they were a horrible defensive team last year. They were one of the worst defensive teams in baseball last year. And I think they went out and brought in Austin Jackson at the last second to try to shore up some of that outfield defense. But I don't know how much that's going to help. So I know the White Sox have done some nice things during the offseason with bringing in Todd Frazier and making some other moves. But I just think in this division, they're still a flat team. They're mad at the general manager. And I think they're going to have a bad year. So, and a bad year in that division may be 77 wins, to be honest with you. So it could be a bubble at bat in the Central where a lot of teams kind of nipping at each other.
Right. The funny thing for me, for people who don't know you very well, we're talking with LaVelle Neal of the Minneapolis Star Tribune, is he's trashing the Chicago White Sox. And where are you from, buddy?
I grew up on the South Side. I grew up on the South Side of Chicago. And it's funny because Twins fans here will jump on me because, well, you're a Chicago homer. You want the White Sox to win. And I was like, no, I'm pretty much call it as I see it. And I just don't see the White Sox team being that effective. I know they got some nice pieces, but I don't think they have a nice roster. So that's my issue.
Yeah, I think and the cohesiveness of that team has always been a question. I think you're right in on that. And I do think they have more talent than they did. I like what Todd Frazier could do there. But overall, I think you're right. I don't see them really necessarily competing. But that division, like I said, I like the Royals, but everybody else in that division, I think is pretty darn good. So now come to my team for a minute too, because I know you've seen them a lot. Fort Myers and Sarasota aren't that far away, so you get to see them a lot. And I'm curious to hear from someone who's not living it every day, what your impressions are of this Baltimore Orioles team.
Well, as I said earlier, I think Buck likes defense. And so this whole Mark Trumbull, Pedro Alvarez, Chris Davis bit where someone's got to play in the outfield and someone's got to DH and the other guy's at first base, I was like, he's going to not have a good defensive player in the corner outfield spot. And then when the Korean was struggling, I was like, the corner outfield spots in this team could be major question mark. Buck really looked ready to put up with this. And then since then we found out that what the Orioles are trying to get their left fielder to go to the minors and start the season. So that's pretty interesting. I think it's a team that's going to score a bunch of runs with Manny Machado and Chris Davis, although they gave him a heck of a lot of money. Weeders being healthy should help. Although the Twins were playing the Orioles in Sarasota the day that Weeders left because of, was it a tweak in his elbow or something like that?
Right.
Isn't that right? So that's something they're probably going to have to monitor during the season. I think it's a pretty good team. I just think in the East it's going to be hard to match up with the Blue Jays, and the Red Sox are going to be plucky. I just think the Red Sox are a team in transition. I think it's going to be Mookie Betts' team with Jackie Bradley Jr. and Xander Bogaerts kind of leading the way, and Ortiz, Sandoval, and Ramirez to kind of taking a back seat a little bit here because that's the future of the Red Sox. But I like some of the Orioles starting pitch. I like Chris Tillman. It seems like they always have. And by the way, is Bundy ever going to pitch in the majors for the? Is he on the roster this year?
Yeah, he actually
like the savior.
Yeah, here's the situation with Bundy is that he is out of options, and so he has to pitch in the bullpen this year. And he's been lights out. Really, really good in the spring. Seems to be healthy. I mean, this guy's got tremendous talent, great work ethic. The work ethic almost got him in trouble because he did too much, and then he had the Tommy John surgery, then he had some shoulder situation. And so we don't know what his health is overall, but he's looked good in the spring, and he's ready. And, I mean, this could be one of the best bullpens in baseball, no question, especially if Bundy's good because Britton's good, O'Day's good. Brad Brock is an unsung hero. I mean, they have Michael Givens was lights out for the Orioles last year. And you throw Dylan Bundy into that mix, and I mean, you're talking about a really good shutdown bullpen, which they're going to need because, their starting rotation is not going to go deep, and it's not particularly good. I mean, honestly, they have a collection of 3s, 4s, and 5s, in that rotation.
I would take the Twins, I think, collective starting 5 over the Orioles starting 5. Because they brought in Giovanni Gallardo, and everybody knows he can't pitch longer than 5 innings now. Right. And it didn't surprise me that the Orioles were rumored as a team interested in the pitcher in San Diego.
James Shields, Shields.
Yeah, James Shields talks, so that didn't surprise me at all. So, yeah, I do think the rotation is going to be a question mark, but, Dan, that's the problem, though. The rotation is not getting you into the 6th or 7th inning. That means your bullpen is going to be gassed by August because you're going to be subject to a huge workload here. So that is something to watch for this team.
Right. Anything else about this team that struck you? Anything else on the Orioles before I let you go?
No, I'm just curious to see if Manny Machado is going to be MVP candidate. Some people have mentioned him in that realm. My man J.J. Hardy, I hope he has another good year. I think he's a solid guy. I covered him for a year in Minnesota. I think he's a good dude. And always wish him luck. The Twins got rid of him quickly. I think that's one of the bigger fleecings in history when Hardy was traded for Jim Hoy and Peter Jacobson. I can't remember.
No, Brett Jacobson, right? Wasn't it?
Brett Jacobson. Two pitchers who have never been seen. Hoy came up and it was awful, and Jacobson never got above Double-A. That was a thing right there. So, and Adam Jones is a quality guy. And as long as Adam Jones isn't hitting Twins pitcher in the head with the backswing of his bat, he's a pretty good player as well. So it's a solid Orioles team. I'm concerned about how they're going to handle the bats with Trumbo and Alvarez. I mean, who's going to be in the outfield because I think that's going to be a liability. And they got a bad situation in their hands with they're basically. Asian countries are going to stop dealing with the Orioles because I still remember when they had the problem with the pitcher a few years ago.
Right. I mean, they got banned from Korea for a while from scouting because they tried to sign an amateur, and that was a no-no. Trying to sign a left-handed amateur, and they also sent Suckman Yoon back when he didn't succeed in the he never even made the majors, didn't succeed in the organization. So I mean, Dan Duquette loves Asian baseball. He has very much an interest in it. He thinks that it is a great place to find players, but they've had some really strange dealings with Korea and Korean players, so it's going to be interesting to see how that relationship goes. But I'll tell you one thing, the relationship between me and you will continue to go because this guy is one of not only the best beat writers in the United States, but he's also one of the best guys to hang out with in covering baseball. So I want to thank my buddy LaVelle Neal for joining us here, and we'll see what happens on opening day on Monday. But again, Dan Connolly with LaVelle Neal on BaltimoreBaseball.com. Thanks for listening.